Welcome to HTO Football. I'm Andrew Timbrell, your host for this episode, alongside London Bees manager Lee Burch. I spoke to Lee about his first year at the Hive, the progression of the women's game, and the importance of creating a nurturing environment as a coach. Enjoy. Lee, welcome to HTO Football. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Are you well?
Yeah, all well, thanks, mate. Yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Cracking stuff. I mean, we've got some breaking news hot off the press this morning with the fixtures come out. An exciting time for every football fan and coach, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. You know, obviously we had a little bit of a heads up. We've known for a little bit, but yeah, to get the fixtures actually out there, and it's great to have the fixtures to be able to plan. They've only given us the first couple because after the first two games, we go into an international break, and then we get the fixtures from beyond that afterwards. I think they're looking at because of the Premier League coming back in, they just don't want the clashes. So they probably got them in mind, but yeah, we only know the first couple at the moment. So yeah, Coventry away, and then Liverpool at home. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
I think every football fan or lover of the sport is sort of having to adjust to this new calendar, aren't they? The football calendar is completely changed.
Yeah, you know, it's a bit all over the place. You know, last night we were training. You know, we're in pre-season and we're watching, you know, on the TV as we're walking back for the high. You know, Wolves are playing in the quarterfinals of the Europa League or whatever. So you know, Champions League games happening tonight when the season's done, and then the Champions League final is going to finish, and then within a couple of weeks we'll be straight into the first game of the Premier League. It is strange times, but for us, we're kind of back a little bit more into normality, because where it all got cancelled and we've kind of started again, we've kind of running through a pre-season as normal. So for us, I think that's why they've done it. You know, for us, we're coming back in September. So yeah, it's felt, now we're back into it, it kind of feels back in as a bit more normality.
So just for our listeners, obviously, a bit of background with yourself, Lee. You took over at London Bees last summer, I believe.
Yeah, quite late last summer, yeah.
Right. So can we compare last summer to this summer? Which is a bit of an overhaul of the squad last summer with players, ins and outs. And then this summer, I guess a bit more stable that you're enjoying in a way. Oh, I use the word stable lightly in this climate that we're in, but
yeah, and obviously it's night and day as far as the situation around obviously COVID and everything like that. But also on the other hand, it's night and day as far as where we're at as a club. So last season, I come in quite late into the role, and you know, I think over 50% of the players had already decided to leave the club before I got there. I think we managed to keep eight players that were playing first team football last year. So it was a big transitional period. I brought in 5 or 6 that I knew that I'd worked with previous clubs. And then we ended up having, you know, I think we saw over 40 trialists last year at various different levels. You know, it was just crazy. But I wanted to cast the net quite wide. I see what we're going, and it works because we ended up with a good group, a good squad. And then the main thing was that was always going to change and manipulate through the season. So we lost a few players throughout sort of early doors in the season. And we ended up with a good squad towards the end, which again, as you say, bit more stable roles into this season, and at the moment, you know, we've only got 1 or 2 that are going elsewhere, and we're looking to retain the rest of the squad, which is great, and we can bring in a few new faces just to freshen it up. But the transition was done last year rather than this year, definitely.
I was going to say you sort of had some early practice with coping with transition ahead of what was to come later in the season, right?
Yeah, I did the same the year before when I was at Yeovil and things like that. So, you know, I've had quite a few times where you've come in, you've had to revamp the whole group. But these are the exciting ones for a manager. It's not revamping the group. That's good to do, but it's when you've done it and you can start to add the little details. And now we really feel like we're in a good place. And the fact that, you know, everyone wanted to return and be back involved in the club. As I say, there's only one player that's you know, Ellie Wilson has announced today she's gone to Sheffield United. Right. So again, you know, she's got university and there's movements, and you get players that move around the country as well. So they might be happy at a club, but actually if there's movements elsewhere, you know, they're going to end up somewhere else as well.
So you talk about that word revamp a minute ago. Is that something that has maybe shaped you as a coach, Lee? Having to do that on several occasions? I know you'd prefer to have a more stable setup where you can, like you said, leave your print on the team and start to build something. But do those transition periods that you've had to go through sort of help in the long run?
I think in the first instance, I've had to go into a lot of clubs and say revamp and get the side to where I wanted to, but and it does impact on you as a manager. That's it's a real challenging period. But when you can do your real detailed work, is beyond that. When you're getting into your second, third, fourth, you want to build something over a period, and it takes 2, 3, 4 transfer windows to do that. We know that. We see that in the men's and the women's game all the time. So I had a pretty successful period at Millwall, but I was lucky enough to get a couple of extra transfer windows because when the league changed over from a winter league to from a summer league back to a winter league, you had the spring series where they basically did a half a season. So I got a couple of extra periods in there, which were like end of seasons in a small time frame where I got the opportunity to revamp. Because when you sign players to contract, you've got them for a year, and the budget is spent. You're stuck with what you've signed. Really, you can always maybe try to add and move a little bit, but those big movements and the refreshing up of the squad only happen at those periods. So. Yeah, it's a big summer for us as far as that goes, but we're really pleased with where we're at and the players we've managed to bring in. And I say the main thing was keeping the group, keeping them together.
So you finished, was it 5th at the time of? Okay. So what were the targets for the season? Did you were you on track? Did you feel like things were going as planned? Did you?
Yeah, I mean 100%. I mean that's the highest Bees we've ever managed to finish. So it wasn't a target. To be honest, when we first came in, the target was to stay away from relegation. We had to be realistic with where London Bees have been at for the years. Bottom to mid-table sort of side. I think the season before it lost their last 7 games in a row. So we're struggling as a group. And it was the first time last season was meant to have relegation. So, years before when teams have finished bottom, they got away with it. And obviously, it did happen again because of COVID, but that was a big worry. And it's going to be the same going to this year is there is relegation from the division. And that could have a massive impact on the club. So the first target last year was just to not be involved in that relegation battle, to get as far away as we can and to climb the table. But we started well and we were never lower than 5th. We ended up 5th after about 3-4 games, I think, and stayed there the whole way through. Even when we had a period where we didn't get any points from the ball, we stayed because we'd got some early points. And I think that was obviously given to us points per game wise, but that was where we were at the whole season, literally. So we had a few games over London City Lionesses. We'd have had to have won to grab them in 4th, but equally we had Leicester sort of behind us. So I think we deserve to be where we finished in the end. I think that was fair.
And I guess that led to your nomination, Lee, for the Player of the Manager of the. I mean, you won one of those before, hadn't you? This season beforehand. How did that feel? Was that a proud moment?
Yeah, it is. I was lucky enough to win Manager of the Year when I was at Millwall, which was brilliant. And again, to get nominated this year, I was on verge of winning really because Gemma Davis at Aston Villa massively deserved to win that award. She had a great season. They won the league and unbeaten, and where that journey of that team, that people got to remember that the year before, first game of the season, they got beat 12-0 by Man United. So the journey of Aston Villa was great. So Gemma massively deserved that. So just to get nominated for me was as best as we can hope for because, and it was good. It's not just, obviously I'm lucky. I'm the one that gets my face up on the TV or whatever and gets we had 2 Manager of the Month awards and I got a nice shiny trophy in my office. But it is about the staff. It is everything that, I've got Sian Osman with me, Luigi Dimmy, the physios and everybody around us, Craig, goalkeeper coach. It's been brilliant this season. And Sarah Quantrill, the goalkeeper, actually got Player of the Month in the last month as well. So, it's sort of it really is a collective thing, and that was it. It's nice to be nominated and appreciated for the job we've done because I think people realise that to jump London Bees up to 5th from where we were was a good job, and now we've got to make sure that it wasn't a one-off.
Yeah, superb job. I mean, I was looking back at some historical notes actually, where the club sort of. There was a little story back in the 70s. I don't know if you've heard of this story where there's a group of women that are working on the district line. Put a team together, and then from there, they've just gone from strength to strength, haven't they, Lee? I mean, they set up the elite development program back in 2019, wasn't it? I think last November time.
Yeah, yeah, we've got the pathway and stuff for the players and things as well, and the academy.
Lots of good things going on.
They've done really well, and we've seen that come to fruition with like some Matilda Finberg being involved the last year. We've got a really exciting player at the moment, that has been involved with us pre-season towards the end of last year. She's only 16 and she's coming out of the academy, and I'm really excited to see what she can do this year, and be very surprised if she's not making a debut at some point. So that pathway that the guys are providing down there in the academy is going really well, and they had some very good success individually as teams. But unfortunately, with COVID, they didn't maybe get to the cup final or win the league that they looked on course to do.
So next season, obviously, plans starting now out on the training pitch with the cones and bibs. What are the targets, Lee? What have you got in mind? We've obviously a fantastic season last year. Is it about sustaining that, or do you want to keep?
I think it's natural. Everyone always wants to go one better, But we've also got to be realistic with this league, and with Liverpool coming down into the division, replacing Aston Villa, you've got a powerhouse of a football club who you see some things talking about. Maybe they were underfunded and not given the support in the Super League, but I'd still like their budget. You know what I'm saying? So it's they're gonna be a powerhouse in our division. They're a powerhouse for football club with some excellent players. So that's gonna make the division tougher. Leicester City are turning professional, and we finished above them last season. So they're going to be jumping. Really, they haven't announced their players yet, but you hear through the grapevine the level of players that they're bringing in and the finances that the club are putting in, which is great. I got no problem with it. People come to me and were like, "Oh, is it fair? You got professional and semi-professional sides in the same division." And I've always said, you don't take your wallet out onto the pitch. That's the beauty of football and sport. Is it's not always that clear cut. Over the course of a season, will the professional sides be at the top? They should be. It's down to us to maybe be best of the rest like we were last year, or to try to sneak into there. So, I'm really looking forward to this season. I say it will be hard because of the quality of the teams around us. But the more the women's game gets funding from the likes of Leicester and things like that, I think it's just good for all of us. And we've just got to make sure that when we go out there, that we do the best we can. I know for a fact I've got better players in my side than there is in them two teams. So we got to go out there and perform on the day.
We were talking off air, Lee, before about spoke to Fern Whelan from Brighton the other week, and she was saying that we had a discussion around the women's game and the evolution and how it sustains its popularity during, say, a World Cup tournament where everyone watches, it gets huge crowds, huge TV figures. Yet she said the week after she'll go out and play a game and it's an empty stadium. What do you think? What needs to happen, Lee? Do you feel for the women's game to sustain that popularity over a longer period of time, so that the WSL Championship get bigger crowds and hence bigger audiences?
I think all the figures are telling you that the crowds are getting bigger, but I think there's also some talk out there about when you've got the likes of Chelsea played the game at Stamford Bridge, and they had obviously a great crowd, but how many of them tickets were given away for free and things like that, and which is great. I think it's just good to get eyes on the product, and Chelsea and clubs like that do things really well, and getting good average crowds anyway. But it's really for the rest of us to try to do as much as we can to, as you say, latch on to that interest there is out there. And the problem is England will always get a big interest at big tournaments, and when they do well, because you've got a big group from all the different clubs. But it's hard for a team like us at Bees to attract maybe new fans, because they're going to want to go and watch the side of their men's, really. If I grew up as a Tottenham fan, not that I am, but grew up as a Tottenham fan.
Yeah, why would you do that?
They're going to go across and watch Tottenham women. And obviously at Barnet, there's a strong fan base there as far as I've seen. We're quite lucky. We're training alongside some of that when the game's been going on, and the roars and the crowd. Even though it hasn't maybe been as big as what it needs to be, you can feel there's a passionate group there. And we've got to try to tap into that a bit more, I think, and try to get more and more of the Barnet fans on board, and vice versa. And that's hard for a club like us to do because of just the situation. Whereas the Premier League clubs, they can tap into
Yeah.
Millions and millions of fans. So in general, I think the game just it will naturally grow. It will naturally keep going. And I think the more young girls are playing football, the more they're going to become the fans of the future. So we're seeing the growth of the game, young 6-7-year-old girls that are just going out there and playing football like it's natural. It's so natural now. There's clubs everywhere. The girls don't think anything of it. They want to go and play the sport, and it's growing. And what's happening now is hopefully you're starting to see some of the mums and the dads of those young girls becoming fans of women's football, and not just, the male game. And a lot of people are seeing the game get better and quicker, which helps. Some people, they go along, they watch a game and it's not for them, and that's fine. There's some people go and watch under 21 football, or some people prefer non-league football to the Premier League version of the game. Yeah. The game's the same, but there's just little changes amongst each different variant. I've watched some under 21 Premier League teams play, and it's like a chess match, and that doesn't interest me personally. But I love non-league football, and I love, lower league football, and I like the Premier League, and this can be the same for other people. So some people will see the women's game and not enjoy it. Some do because they see a bit of a purity into it. You hear there's not the diving and there's not the egos maybe that they see in the Premier League, and they can watch their Premier League sides, Premier League badge, competing. Yeah. So it's a challenge. But I think it just takes time. I think you've got the women's football fans of the future are coming through as the game grows. And every time England do well, it obviously helps.
Yeah, this could be a 10, 20, decades, couldn't it, of just slow progress to get there, really.
I think it's the same with anything, the growth of the game, and as players come out, of playing, they go into coaching roles. So we're going to get more female coaches. We're going to get more black managers in the Premier League, because the players that were playing it are starting to come out of it. And as long as people are getting opportunities and do well, you're going to start to see that growth. But I think it just takes a little bit of time for those people to maybe come out of what they were doing first. They're players, and then they're going to make the transition to coaches or back row or boardroom staff or into the media and things. They've got to do their playing first. They've got to come out. We're just starting to see the females come out, Alex Scotts and Karen Carney's. But they had to have the playing background behind them first before they could go and do this. This is probably why we're only just starting to get them into those worlds. Yeah,
there's a bit. I think it's a sort of a cultural thing at the moment, isn't it? We're living in this sort of, we want it overnight, don't we? Success overnight. Hence why I guess managerial tenures are shortened than what they used to be. I always feel as well with these sorts of debates that there comes a point where the Premier League product itself just becomes so overbearing that it becomes almost more than, like you mentioned earlier, like some people like non-league football, some people like reserve football, but I think what's happened in the last 20 years, I guess 15 years, is that Premier League monster has just become bigger, hasn't it, than almost the game itself in a way, so that why you get so many fans that just watch Premier League and that's it. Yeah.
No, yeah, and why you're getting some people moving away from it as well, because they don't like that. And
exactly.
It is changing, and you've got the generation coming up. The hope is that the generation coming up will still want to see those other versions of the game as well. And I think women's one will be fine, but young lads, do they get excited by going and watching non-league football?
I know.
Not just non-league as far as National League, but they like going and watching your step 6, step 7s and going and watching your real local sides that need the 150 people that go and watch and get through their gates. It's the lifeblood of our game. And in England, we're very lucky with our national system. You can go along and watch a game at step 6, step 7 and see a few hundred people there, and passionate about that game and the teams that they follow. So it's really important that as a culture we continue to strive for that. And as you mentioned, the Premier League doesn't run away with it, even as good as a product that can be.
Yeah, because we mentioned to Fern about the sort of the Premier League payment to the women's game that came out, I think, was it May, June time, and we just thought, well, it's all well and good, but is it again a bit of a gesture, just a tokenism? We're helping, in inverted commas. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's more than £0, but you just wonder if there should be more than just throwing £1 million at it every now and then, really.
I mean, So it was great, and so it was better than nothing. But when you start to break down, £1 million can actually start, it can start getting chopped up quite quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's great that they come out and they try to support in any way, shape, form. And there's always rumours about them stepping in and supporting the women's game in the future more. And we'll just wait and see. And it would be great if there's more money coming to the game, because it makes everything better to a point. Better coaching, better facilities, players going to get better. That is going to help. People are worried about it going towards the Premier League model. I understand that, but I think we're miles away from getting anywhere near that yet, because we do need the influx of cash. I understand some people are worried about the Premier League taking over, because what does that mean for clubs like us? What does that mean for clubs like Lewes and Durham, Bristol City? Maybe the ones that aren't near the Premier League or anywhere close to it. So, there is that worry. But again, I welcome change. I welcome support. And it's down to people within the game to keep pushing forward. But unfortunately, we've seen a few big clubs fall by the wayside when it comes to finances, as I unfortunately I well know.
Definitely. I wanted to touch on your FA tutoring role a little bit, Lee. So can you give us a little bit of background as to how that came about and the reasons why you went into it?
So I grew up within I started working for Hampshire FA when I was 16, 17, and that was my first full-time role work. I didn't go to college, went straight into working for the county FA. So seeing the courses and supporting how they were run is something I'd seen from quite an early age. And once I started doing my qualifications and pushing through my courses, I was also working for the FA and the FA Skills Programme, which I worked for 12 years. And what they basically did is, because of the level of the coaching we were at, they gave us an opportunity to jump on board with some of the tutoring. So I got involved that way, really. Obviously being an A licensed coach, you got the opportunity to go and deliver, and I deliver level 1 to level 2s. Thought about supporting the going into the B licenses, but it's quite a big commitment, and with everything else I got on, I thought the level 1s and level 2s were good. But yeah, it's good, and it's different because you're going in and coaching the coaches and supporting them in that way. We did that quite a bit in the FA Skills Programme. One of our roles was to go into local clubs and support their coaches and aid them. So that was kind of where I think they saw we were doing that. And not everyone that applied to get a tutor role gets it. It is quite hard to get involved in. And I've enjoyed it. The courses are great fun. They've got the guys are great. There's loads of good debate around football. And even though I'm at the senior end of the game, and a lot of the candidates want to hear about that stuff, I work with 5 to 11s in the skills programme. I've worked within disability football. I've been out there working with 4 or 5-year-olds on a wet Wednesday for an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? I've done that, and worked in a school at Christmas time. You've got the piano in the corner, the Christmas tree in one corner, 30 kids running around the hall. That's real coaching. If you can do that, you can deal with.
I was about to say, that sounds like my job. I'm a teacher, Lee. So
yeah, so you know exactly what's like. If you can deal with that, you can go out and deal with 18 players that want to be there and give you everything. And this is what I say to a lot of the coaches that start out, that want to get a career, get into those community programs, get out there, because you can adapt. And if you can deal with that, the rest will be great. And obviously your technical knowledge and stuff on top. So that's good. And, again, I'm a dad, my son plays youth football. So I'm also a parent. I've been on the side and I watch my son play. My daughter's actually just started kicking around a little bit as well. So, I've been a parent. I've been through that system. My boy's been in an academy, been out in an academy. I play through. So I kind of feel like when it comes to tutoring, I've got a lot to. I kind of feel like I've delved in enough. Yeah, and I can speak a lot with the different candidates we get there. We got an under-7 coach that's just started out his coaching journey, to a guy that's been working with his under-14s for years, to a coach that's started working in a development centre at a club and wants to push into an academy, or when they changed over the youth mod, we ended up with a couple of A licensed coaches that had to come back onto certain courses just to catch up on a couple of things to keep it to keep their qualifications going when they changed that all around. So yeah, it's a real mix, and the courses are great fun, and the learning that takes place is is excellent. And one of the best ones I've done recently, I did a female only one, which was superb. And again, they had Lisa Savage, who was a coach down this way, works with Southampton, to go in and support that. Unfortunately, Lisa couldn't do the whole course, so they come to me to come onto the course because I work within the women's game. So that was nice that they trusted me to go in and support those female coaches, because the reason the course was put on was because some of them maybe felt nervous going into a male-dominated, course, or what they perceive as a male-dominated world. It is. So again, that course was brilliant. The candidates were excellent.
That's fantastic. I mean, we spoke to the Army under-23s head coach, Gerwin Griffiths, a few weeks back, and he was doing a similar FA tutoring role, mentoring role. And he said that what he wants to do is get himself in a position where he can almost coach people to become mentors at the clubs that they're at. So he's based somewhere else, and then he trains people up so that he's disseminating that expertise. Something you obviously would do a great job at, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's great when you've got someone in a club that can do that and support that role. And you see them in the courses quite quickly, and you can lean on them a little bit and say, look, why are you not doing this within your club? Why are you not taking that role? I think you'd be really good at it. And some clubs out there are quite lucky. In the club my boy plays at, the manager of my son's team, it was an FA skills coach with me, was my assistant manager at Yeovil. So as an A licensed coach, he's an FA tutor. So he's already within the club. So that's an easy one for the club to lean on, sort of his expertise and things like that. But the more and more that's done, it's good. Tutoring's fun, but we've got to wait and see what happens with COVID around what they're going to do with the courses, etc. So
Zoom. Yeah,
hopefully we can get back out there. And the funny thing is, Zoom is overtaking everything. So it's been a great tool, but there's nothing like getting out there in front of people, is there? Especially
you're right. And I think you mentioned a minute ago on these courses, when you have great chat and great debates. The last couple of weeks or so, we've had a lot of spotlight on the Heads Up FA Cup final, haven't we? And the importance of coming out and talking about problems and life, really. And lately, a lot of the women's clubs have signed up to this declaration, haven't they, Lee? What is there as much scope in the women's game for? I wouldn't say scope, but opportunities for young female players to seek advice in clubs, or is it? Do you feel like there's a lot of focus on the men's game, the Premier League?
The focus is there, but I think that's because that will the wider audience it will hit. So I understand why that's useful, but I think, and I don't know whether it's a female game thing. I don't think it is, but I've noticed the mental health aspect of the game, and football is getting bigger and bigger over the last few years. And obviously I've been dedicated to the female game, so I think that's just more coincidence. I imagine if I was in the male game, they're probably seeing that as well. And we're starting to see it coming out in youth football as well. Especially kids that get released from academies, and things like that. And, there needs to be more support around that. And some clubs are really starting to delve into that and doing some good work. So the scope for support is huge. It's needed. It really is needed. The PFA are great, but unfortunately, the PFA don't support my players. If you're not a professional, then it doesn't work. And unfortunately, I've said before, we're playing with and against ex-pros, and we could spend a month playing against professional players. We go and play against Liverpool, and then we get cup games in the Conti Cup where we play the WSL sides, and Leicester and London City Lionesses. All of a sudden, you're going, well, but these players can't gain the support that the people in the league can. So I've asked that question. I understand there's got to be a cut-off, but I think the league needs to support more. I don't know about the National League Tier 3 down, whether they have someone that, or they have links to really support the players, because again, they're in the same situation. If you haven't got PFA support, because you see there's things out there, and I've tried to support players where I can do. It's a natural role, and not just players that work with me now, but players that have gone through things. I've been involved in trying to just support and listen to players that have been through things that don't play for me anymore. But sometimes they maybe need an ear of someone that they know that is maybe not in the situation. And it's really hard because, again, I'm not qualified. And sometimes we know with mental health, it just needs someone to listen to.
Exactly,
So then that's great, and maybe support, give advice. And there's loads of, there's more like apps and things like that coming out, which can help people internally if they don't feel they can reach out to someone. But yeah, I think it's a big thing now. We're looking to support players and staff, as much as we can do. I'm lucky through the LMA. We get a lot of support through that, and I've seen, again, there's lots of opportunities for support for managers through that. But yeah, I think it just needs more and more opportunities, and I think there's a big chance for some really good people, to get in some really influential roles, whether that's within leagues or associations or just within clubs. Again, it's down to clubs to understand the importance of this thing, and to put money behind it, to bring someone into it. There is clubs out there that are full-time mental health officers.
Yeah, I was going to say, on the other hand, I often compare sort of teaching with managing and coaching, because unless in a school you have therapists that can help, or in a football club, unless you have therapists or experts that can help, inevitably it's down to those on the front line, i.e. the teacher, the manager, the coach, to, I guess, train themselves also as well, and just offer a helping hand as much as possible, and having those conversations with your players / pupils as much as you can, to build that rapport and the trust that's needed for that relationship and the environment to flourish, really.
I mean, and you will, in that teaching environment, you'll be seeing it all the time, and I'm sure that I've heard some things. Kids are struggling with it more and more, and they're noticing it within kids, and lockdown and everything that's gone on recently. There's been a massive spike, and everyone sort of has seen that. And some of the calls for things like when gyms weren't open, for example, people were citing mental health. They needed to get out there and do something. And there's support behind those thoughts. So yeah, I think we need to just keep moving on. If we can get some finance behind it to push good people into important roles, I think that's really going to help. Just so people know where they can go for support. Yeah,
definitely. Right, so time for our counter-attack challenge, Lee. This is going to put you under a bit of pressure.
Well,
I'll try to anyway. So first one up, we've got, so quickest answer possible.
Cool.
Favourite Netflix TV show at the moment?
At the moment, I'm watching El Chapo.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, love it. Carry on. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Good man. Cool. Coach you admire most in world football?
I'm still a big Mourinho fan. I'm a Chelsea fan by nature, so 2005 Mourinho is my hero. But still, I know he's changed a little bit, but when he does these little things, it's still good. There's some other people that are coming out, but still Jose for me.
Yeah, fascinating career that he's had. I don't think he's the 05 Mourinho anymore, but you get those glimpses, don't you, every now and then, where the glimmer's still there in the eye.
You see how well Spurs have done underneath him. It'd be a really interesting one next season. Really interesting to get some finances. Yeah,
I was surprised actually the other day, Lee, when I looked at the position they were when he came in. I think 14th.
Yeah.
So fair play. I mean, watching them week in, week out, I wouldn't have thought that personally.
Right.
But actually, under the radar.
Games he gets points, doesn't he? Yeah, and I think it was something. I think they would have been in the Champions League as his record was in the top 4 from when he come in and things like that. So it's like to see some of the new managers, Arteta and Lampard, and these guys, and Bielsa in the Premier League next season is going to be real fun to watch.
I was about to say it's a young man's game, but then you mentioned Bielsa. So.
But then he's just more. He's just newer for us, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what Eddie Howe does next. He's had an unbelievable impact at what he's done at AFC Bournemouth. I know they've been relegated, but that club to get where they've been over this period, what a job he's done. So it'd be interesting to see where he ends up next and see what he can do at a different club.
Yeah. So they're talking about the assistant, aren't they? Maybe filling his shoes.
Jason Timbers. So we'll be interested. He's obviously been there a while, so Bournemouth might want to keep that. Continuity that they had before.
Best female player ever.
Marta,
yeah, okay.
Marta,
Fantastic.
Kelly Smith was brilliant as well, and I remember Kelly, doing what she's done. She's excellent. But I think we're going to have a player that these players are going to overtake them soon. I thought Rose Lavelle in the World Cup was just
fantastic
on another level. She was absolutely superb. I just thought
bronze is brilliant as well.
Yeah, Lucy for us has been excellent, and but yeah, I think it's probably going to be a striker that goes out there and does the Messi, Ronaldo type things, and before people start putting them up with the rest. It's very hard for a right back like Lucy to maybe get the praise that she deserved. But yeah, there was a very, very good crop of players coming out. And there's some future ones coming through as well.
Yeah, and last but not least, we're not doing very well with this quick fire, are we, Lee?
No, sorry, yeah.
Last but not least, you've got 3 dinner guests, pizza and beers round yours for a takeaway. Who are you going to choose, dead or alive?
Dead or alive? It's Johnny Cash. Interests me what he's been through. If I can get a 2005 Jose here, yeah, it'd probably be interesting.
We'll be in a better mood, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're quite happy. I don't know. And then just to make what about a Gaza? Let's get it'd make the party fun.
You need someone, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
maybe
good choices.
Maybe bring El Chapo in. It'd really make it interesting.
What episode you on?
Episode 5, season 2.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm quite early. I've been ploughing through my Netflix, but my mate's been on to me to get into that lot. So
you watch Narcos?
That's on next. He's literally said go for El Chapo first, and then push through the rest. But it was getting through things slowly but surely.
Yeah. So Lee, what's the future for Lee Burch really, and not just London Bees? Where do you see yourself going? Obviously, still got plenty of years ahead.
Yeah, I suppose I'm still quite young as a manager. I've been in the WSL. I enjoyed my time in there, as tough as it was. It was good. So the aim is to get back into the WSL, and to give that another really good go. That is the aim. And if we can do that with London Bees, that will be brilliant. But we just got to be realistic in the challenge that will be. But yeah, there's been bigger things have happened in sport, and stranger things have happened, and I really believe in the group we've got. On paper, if we kick in and we can keep everyone fit, we've got a real chance. We'll fancy ourselves against anyone this year. So, yeah, for me, I want to get back in the WSL at some point. And it's it might be years away, but in the meantime, I'm just enjoying working with the people I work with, the players I work with. And I've enjoyed my time at Barnet and London Bees. I know it's been a tough time for everyone in football in general, but I think I cheered the goal against Yeovil for Barnet more so than some of my goals this season. So
it sort of makes you more attached to a place, doesn't it, during this period, I guess, as well.
Yeah, and I'm still I still keep an eye out for Yeovil's results, and Millwall's results just from being there. But No, WSL for me, and hopefully for everybody else, we'll push on.
Well, I wish you all the best, and might catch you at the Hive next season, Lee.
That'd be brilliant, mate.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time. It's been brilliant.
Cheers.
Many thanks to Lee again for that discussion. We wish you all the best as you embark on your second season at the Hive. For all the latest at HTO, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and Instagram at HTO Football. All the best, guys. Take care.